Welcome to Just Travel with Sandy. Hey, everybody, I'm Sandy, your guide to stress-free and exciting travel. And this podcast is all about turning your travel dreams into reality. So whether it's dealing with the overwhelm of planning a trip, overcoming travel anxiety, handling language barriers, I speak German so you don't have to, embracing new cultures with confidence, or anything in between, we'll share practical travel tips to help you navigate new destinations with ease. So regardless if you're a seasoned traveler or just starting out, this is your space to gain the mindset and tools to explore the world with joy. And I have some super exciting news that I'm really looking forward to. Working on all the background stuff. Sandy's Travel Lounge is coming soon. It's going to be a fun, welcoming community for like-minded travelers. So get ready for events, laughter, expert advice, curated itineraries, and all things travel. Stay tuned. So grab a cup of coffee or a glass of wine, get comfortable, and let's dive into the adventure. And today I'm so excited to have with us my dear friend, Sarah. Sarah Rhodes from North Carolina, who's a horse trainer, loves travel, used to go to Italy all the time. Then she fell in love with Germany. And last October, she came to Ireland with me. So welcome, Sarah. So great to have you here.
It's so good to be here, Sandy. Thanks a bunch.
So let's just dive right in because you said one of the funniest things in the world to me that that I still think is so funny. But before we get to that, when you arrived in Dublin and you took the bus, I think, into the city,
Yeah.
what was your very first impression of Ireland when you landed?
Holy crap. They actually speak English. I'm not having to worry about, oh my gosh, do I need to speak Italian? Do I need to speak German? What language is here? What am I looking for? So everything was in English and it was so easy to get around. And that was probably the biggest first impression that I had was this is going to be so easy.
That's awesome. I love that. And so you got into Dublin. It was so fun. We met, we found a place for breakfast. It was so awesome. And when you first arrived, was there anything unexpected that happened that you weren't prepared for on your trip?
So the biggest thing, nobody had ever prepared me for Ireland. It wasn't even on my radar. And when I got there and we started wandering around Dublin and then we got on the train to Galway, the beautiful scenery. Like you see pictures and things are kind of like, oh yeah, that's really nice. And then you get there and it just blows you away. And that was probably the biggest thing for me that I wasn't expecting was this is just like the pictures and it's so incredibly beautiful.
Truly lives up to his expectations. So for somebody that's never been to Ireland and for somebody who maybe like you, it wasn't on their bucket list or isn't on their bucket list, what would you say to somebody like that?
Don't miss it. Absolutely don't miss it. It's the best of a beautiful country that you're not expecting. You expect it to be, this drab, dreary kind of place. And then you get there and you've got Caribbean ocean water and everybody's super nice. And it's just so beautiful. Like I was blown away. Like I can't wait to go back. So blown away.
I love that you say that because that's one thing people say. People always told me, and of course, I was married to an Irishman for 28 years and I've been to Ireland multiple times, but the people are so welcoming and friendly.
Yeah.
That is very true. And this is something I get all the time. And people don't believe me, but the Irish have this reputation, and maybe it was like that in the past, but the Irish have this reputation that the food sucks.
hmm
Would you agree with that?
The first night when we were there in Galway and we went to that
The
fancy
hide.
schmancy, whatever, just walked in, no reservation. And whatever piece of beef that was that I cut with my fork, I was like, oh my God, the food's amazing. How did I get here? Just absolutely transported by that. That was so incredible.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. Yeah, I remember that. So, about Ireland, and of course, we're going to Ireland in June. I just had to
Mhm.
remember because I'm going to France in September. And I was just talking to somebody about France. We're going to Ireland in June, and we're going to do a longer version of the short version that we did.
Mhm.
Obviously, it was a whirlwind.
Yes.
Remembered flying to the ferry and
Yes.
trying to get the
Yes.
ferry.
So glad Liam was driving and it wasn't me.
People have asked me, they're like, yeah, well, Ireland, it's beautiful. I've seen pictures, but I feel like it's just absolutely magical until you see it. You really can't comprehend.
Mhm.
So, and this is something I want you to touch on because you've been to Germany and you've obviously been to Italy multiple times. And then you said to me, because you said to me, you says, I think Ireland is now my favorite country. I'm
Yes.
sorry. And I'm like, you don't have to be
Yes.
sorry.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that, like the food and the culture and the people, but what about Ireland? Because it's so much more than just the food and the
Right. Right. So
landscape.
I think in Ireland, I felt really, really safe. I wasn't worried. It was an easy trip. It wasn't me sitting there saying, okay, well, I have to translate this because there's nothing in English, and either pulling up the app on my phone or trying to translate it myself. And it was just it was one of the most easy trips I've ever taken over the pond. And that to me was big. We kind of had an itinerary, but it was just so fly by the seat of your pants
Yeah.
and kind of get to where we needed to go. And then off we went.
Yep.
And I love trips like that. And it makes it so easy when it's in the same language and it's in, like, you have a base of support there. It just makes it easy. It's like saying, okay, well, I'm going to go travel across the US. Everything's in the same language. You have some of the same comfort things. I remember being in Dublin and we were walking around and I was like, oh my God, there's a Circle K. Like, I feel like I'm at home, but I'm in a completely different country.
That's right.
So
I
it
remember
was it
that.
was just easy. And
Yeah.
that's what made it so much fun.
Well, there's somebody coming on the trip to Ireland in June who has never been outside of the country. So I
Mhm.
think this is a great trip because it's the language and the country. So it'll be a great way to ease into it. So, what would you say to somebody that's been to Ireland before? You did like I just mentioned, you did an itinerary that was a, it is an off the beaten track itinerary because I've been to Ireland multiple times and there were things I'd seen that I hadn't seen before. So if
Mhm.
somebody said, "Well, I've already been to Ireland and I know you hadn't been before," but just having talked to Liam and Quiva, right? For our audience, those were our well, Liam was our tour guide and Quiva is his daughter who joined us in the journey. But they really took us to some really magnificent places that are off the beaten track.
Mhm.
So if somebody said to you, well, I've already been to Ireland, what would make this a trip to go on if I've already been?
So for me, being blown away by Castle Gregory at sunset, I don't know very many people ever who have pulled that off. I mean, the beach was deserted when we got there. So how many people from the US have actually seen that? That was worth it to me across the board. Getting to hang out with the 5-time world champion Irish dancer because,
Yeah.
we got to go to the pub and he was dancing. So cool. How many
Wow.
times do you get to say you've done that? And then, like, the getting kind of like the backstage access to the racetrack there
Mhm.
outside of Dublin and going to see the stud farm and things like that. That's stuff that most people don't get to do. And
Right.
on this trip, you get access to that, which is just incredible.
And we have some great other things in store. And so this is, there will be some horseback riding on this trip. And for the audience that may be interested in coming, they're optional. You do not have to ride. So Castle Gregory, which is the beach that Sarah just mentioned, I have to say, I've been to a lot of beaches, and I know, Sarah, you love the ocean and you love the beaches. But for me,
Yes.
I can only speak for myself. I think it's probably one of the most beautiful beaches I've ever been to. Absolutely magnificent. And we will be riding that beach, but it's optional. If you're not a horse person, you do not have to ride. So I just want to throw that in there. Say if somebody is hesitant about going on this off the beaten track path trip to Ireland, which it truly is, what would you say to try to convince them?
Gosh, you'll never get to experience Ireland like this. This is a once in a lifetime kind of trip. And granted, I'm sure you're going to be doing this every year, but Like, how many times are you going to get to
Right.
do these things? And if you go in different seasons and the trip changes, so there
Hmm.
might be something new or different, but you've missed out on this one opportunity.
Right.
So
I
that would
love that.
be that would be something.
I love that. So people, it's an objection I've heard from people is, well, it always rains in Ireland. And yes, it can rain, absolutely. And it did rain, absolutely.
And it hailed.
Hailed. And I know you're a sun girl. You when it's like 75 degrees, it's cold. No, I'm kidding. But you like the warm,
You're not off.
you like the warm weather. And yes, Ireland's at 75, they're in their short sleeves and in
Mhm.
their little pools, so obviously it's different. I remember being in Egypt years ago and it was literally 80 degrees and they were in their wool, whatever. So we're all, used to different, but would that stop you, the weather? Because it did rain some of the time we were there.
No. And one of the things that Quiva said that I remember was you don't come for the weather, you pack for the weather. And that way you're prepared. Like I had no idea that it was going to rain and hail, while we were wandering around Dublin. But, you put your raincoat on and you jump under an awning and you wait it out for a couple of minutes and then you go on because it's kind of like being in Florida. The rain never lasts for very long.
Right. It's
So,
a soft day, as the Irish say. It's a soft day because it's like a little bit of rain. And so on a side note, and this is just for you, but maybe one of our listeners, we were on the train from Dublin to Galway, as Sarah mentioned earlier, and you saw or read or a friend you were texting with somebody told you there's a dewberry outlet.
yes.
So
Thanks,
I'm
team.
actually I've never owned a pair of dewberries. I've always wanted a pair though, and as many times I don't know why, but I just never did. So I'm trying to make that a stop.
Right.
I'm
Yes,
trying to
absolutely.
arrange it with the schedule. Just one more question before we wrap it up. If there was one experience from this trip, and again, it was an abbreviated version, and you pretty much know the itinerary in a longer version, what is the one experience from this trip that you think everybody should have once in their lifetime?
Oh, now see, there's two for me.
Okay,
There's two.
you can say two.
Yes. Castle Gregory at sunset.
Hmm.
And then driving up whatever winding, twisty, narrow road to the top of the mountain so that you can see the beach and then see the little town.
Right. And
And then
Dingle. Yep.
yeah, Dingle. And then
Yep.
that was probably by far two of the best things. A definite don't miss that.
And I think Liam mentioned, I think it was National Geographic that said Dingle was the most magical place in the world. Don't
Hmm.
quote me on that. I'll have to reach out to him, but I think it was National Geographic and I
Yeah.
think it was Dingle, and it is absolutely spectacular.
Hmm.
Granted, we were there in October, so the weather was a little different. This trip is going to be in June, from 14 to
14.
21.
Yep.
I was thinking the dates in September. I've got too many dates. So, for anybody that really is interested in an Ireland in an off the beaten track, it's not about Dublin. If people want to visit Dublin, I say come a few days early or stay a few days longer. We're going to meet in Dublin, but then we're going to be picked up from a driver slash storyteller slash private guide who's going to take us in his very nice Sprinter van. And we have this magnificent trip planned. So, before we wrap it up, Sarah, is there anything you wanted to say in conclusion?
No, not really. I mean, this is definitely an experience that more people need to have just to experience the travel and the culture.
That's awesome. So thank you so much for being on. I'll have all the details in the show notes. If you're interested, reach out and we can give you all the deets. Or if you want to reach out to Sarah, I'm sure she'll be okay with that too if you have questions. Because obviously I'm a little more biased, but Ireland is truly a special place and this is going to be a super special trip. So thanks for tuning in to Just Travel with Sandy. I hope this episode inspired you to take the next step towards your travel dreams, regardless if it's Ireland or Germany or France or Japan or wherever. Please don't forget to subscribe, share, or leave a review. It really means the world to me. And until next time, keep dreaming, planning, and exploring with confidence. Safe travels. And until next time, remember, every great journey starts with a single step.